Sounds like you've been busy.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me? Hello?
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. I can hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me okay, or do I sound
Yeah.
muffled or something? Okay.
Let's see. We have the
I see that it works. Good.
1.2025.10.
Yep.
What's the dating scheme?
That's the Holocene calendar. It reflects the true age of humanity, which is around 12,000 years. It's
Okay.
easy. You just add one to the
Yeah,
4
I see
year.
that. I mean, I was trying to think what archaeologically was happening 12,000 years ago.
Oh yeah, they say Mesopotamia and people starting agriculture or something. But yeah, that marks the beginning of what we call humanity.
So you don't count uh, pre-agricultural civilizations as human?
I mean, humanity, what we call humanity, like when we say civilized humanity, that's what
Okay,
but that's what people mean. Yeah, the Holocene
interesting.
calendar is a whole thing.
Okay.
You can look it up. It's yeah, it's another way of measuring time. We have
Yeah,
that, we have the
like the
Julian.
Unix epoch.
Yeah, and we have 4 digits, 2 digits.
Yeah,
We also have 5 digits. So that's the way I see it. And
yeah.
being that I'm focused on humanity, humans.
Hmm.
That's the calendar that I think is more appropriate.
I see. So, and around the end of the last ice age, right? Uh, calendar. Starting point help in Neolithic. Anyway, it's look like it was coming. Let's just see. It needs a link.
Yeah, so a message for him, thumbs up or
Yeah.
okay, so what TV
HE
meant.
human era.
Hmm.
Definitely seems to for settlements. Yeah. Oh, there you go, Tom.
I was on another Zoom link I had for you, an old one, I
Ah,
guess.
well, it's cool. Glad I sent you the new link. Welcome.
This is the new
And
link.
yes. So welcome to, I guess, HE 12025.10.17. We were discussing the calendar choice here and a new epic for HumaneKind. And maybe there's many, um, maybe we'll just take 10 minutes just to bring us up to date on your various technical travails about what you're trying to build, and then see if we can back out into a clearer sense of the values we're trying to promote and how that compares to other things.
Okay. that works. That was
Okay.
yeah.
You want to share your screen, or you want to just start from this?
I think this is fine. You know, you can show that. You can be the slide person. You know,
Sure.
that way I don't have to like split my mind into two
Sure.
things. Because so the we can start with the link to HumaneWeb.
Okay.
This is this is where I started all that work because I figured it would be more it will have more value to start this because the other repo, which is the HumaneKind, which right now reflects mostly documentation.
Mhm.
I thought it was going to be easier, but this one reflects that pod concept. So we have pods. You have the humane pod, no humane pop repository, which is essentially a directory of pods. So we have the Ernie pod, the Tom pod, the template pod, and then the newly renamed Humanerd pod, which is
Is that what we
mine.
should be calling you now? Is Humane Nerd rather
That
than
is
Ernest?
that is correct, and you can read whatever meaning you can there are several meanings, I guess. Humanerd, you know, humane and nerd all together. Then it can be humane redux, which is like pre envisioning of what it means to be humane. There was another one that I came up with, but humane nerd. Yeah. Anyway, yes, I figured, I started calling the people who are members of HumaneKind humanes, and then, and I was also calling myself a nerd. So I'm like, oh, look at this. This is, I had a what epiphany or whatever. And I figured, yeah, this is gonna be my moniker. Uh, the nerdist is okay, but humane nerd is epic. So yeah, I figured that working out how people would work in these pods to produce content uh, and make it easier for them to map things that they know into that would be a good starting point, because that's essentially what one of the main things that I'm looking to address. People publishing content. Now we have so many ways to do that. Substack and Blue Sky and Tumblr and all those things. But each platform dictates how there is interface. So some are similar, but some are also different. Especially when it comes to like people like me that are writers. When it comes to like the meaning of a line in Tumblr is very different from Blue Sky and and Substack. All those things treat lines differently, and it's confusing. You can't, if you try to copy and paste content from one to another, you get very unsatisfactory results. And then if you also mix in authoring in regular text, like myself doing in ASCII doc, that's even worse. So addressing like an easy way for people to author content is important. In like when I started with this pod concept, uh, and going on a little tangent. I remember a couple of months ago, or maybe three, that we discussed how I am like a culture, like I'm not a culture person. I just humanity, whatever. But as Ernest, you said that everybody's a hypocrite, and I guess in that sense, I truly am, because I had this concept of peace in a pod situation. I wanted to use that to help people model the author, and I wanted to use that. It was kind of difficult to have, yeah, pod is the container, and the P is the atomic data, but I needed an in between, like a nut. That's, things that are. It helps to group them, and for them to have an index in this case. But I also needed an atomic thing that was like indivisible. Let's say a paragraph or a concept. So that was the P thing came in. So I had like three things: I had the pot, the nut, and the P. And I was fighting to be able to say, "Hey, all you do is have some piece in a pot or something like that to help people connect with this thing." And I kind of failed at that, but I still kept the concept of you live within a pod. That's your world. You have a pod. Inside that, you can have nuts. It could be for somebody who writes. It could be a book. It's a nut.
Do you have a different document that talks about nuts rather than this one?
Oh yeah, it was evolving. So because I had this was an old. Yeah,
What's the current place I should be looking?
There's no place you should be looking.
Okay.
Listen to what
So
right. You have a question?
So so in terms of your so the one thing so the first thing I think is really clear is you want people to be able to control their own publishing, and I wrote that as anyone can publish content globally and permanently without permission or censorship. Is that right? And in some ways that is IPFS, right? Is the idea that there's a platform where any peer can slurp up data from you, and as long as at least one peer has it, anybody can find it. The second big idea in that, IPFS is the best living example we have of a permissionless, totally decentralized global publishing system.
Yes.
Okay. Then the second big idea is individual authorship. And is that why you have pods? Is the idea that there's a shared platform, but you each have your own pod, which is your content that you have control over?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
And and that's just the beginning. A pod could be right now. It's just a publishing medium, but it could be a computing medium. It could be anything. You can add computing. You can add data storage. Well, obviously it's
Right.
storage, but
And so, sorry. The actually, let me just sort of share my notes here, and we can work from there. Um, so
the K is not capitals.
no. And the thing that I was a little unclear on is what is, other than having a namespace, which is a pod, it seemed like there was some additional structure that you wanted pods to follow to make it easier to do certain things.
Yes, like to publish articles or posts. I didn't want it to be total, very strict. That's why the three levels of package content the pod.
What are the three
you-
levels now? Just since it wasn't clear from the
or the three structures. A pod is like the
unit of authorship.
biggest one. Yeah. It's like, for example, we have the HumaneWeb, which is, it comes from the Humane repo, which is a directory of right now three pods. The your pod, Tom's pod, and my pod. Inside my pod, for example, I have another pod that is the articles that I've written, and I also have, as part of the whole set of pods, that means that our community of pods, I have a knot called 10 life code, which means, Tom, Ernest, and Nerdist life code, which is just 2 documents that list our journey in the last meeting, where we discussed our values and things, and we made some discoveries about ourselves. And then the out of that, another document, the values or the code that we follow in encoding our code.
And
So-
sorry, is the values a nut or a pod or a pea, or is it?
It doesn't
is
really
that some-
matter. Like,
Okay,
yeah, but
let's not worry about that too much. Okay,
Yes.
and so okay, there's is PodWeb the right name for the overall platform, or is HumaneWeb? Is there a name for that?
HumaneWeb. Let's. Okay, if we talk about
If we're not clear, if it's not important,
Uh,
let's not waste too much time on it. But it's basically
yeah, it's like
IPFS.
marketing. It's like marketing names versus the physical name. The name on disk versus the mark. So it's the actual repository directory is called Humane Pop, but people wouldn't. What's Humane Pop? I mean, people would understand better. Oh, this is the Humane Web. So also from Humane Pop, we could spit out more than Humane Web. It could be other things. It could be a database. It could be whatever. So, but in this case, it's Humane Web. Like, we spit out a web of content that originates from our pods.
Okay.
Okay.
So let me say the 3 big ideas, if this is a good way to say it, is this idea of, let me just put labels on them, even if it's kind of arbitrary. All this self-authoring, actually, no, this is independence, I think. Again, these may not be the right words, but just have some labels on there. And one is this idea of like, we're not beholden to anyone can publish. Secondly, is we kind of each control our own namespace. And the third is that we are honest about our values. Those feel like at
Yes.
least a starting point to understanding. And going back to my original question, which is like, okay, how is this different? One is that there's many commercial platforms and even a few cooperative platforms like Urbit, but they all have either they have a very high barrier to entry, or they have some corporate sponsor that you are at some level beholden to. And
Yes.
and so actually that's
even,
yeah, go ahead.
Finish your idea. Okay.
No,
Mastodon, right?
Yeah.
At first, it's like, oh, it's so great. You can just have a Mastodon account and you can say
Mhm.
anything. You
Yeah.
don't have all the static of that Facebook or either. Oh, you're big to whatever to to triggering or whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
I, I'm pretty out with the things that I say, and that has got me throttled. You can, when you're on it all day, every day, you can feel when your reach has been reduced. When
Mm.
your content doesn't reach out as many people, you don't get enough likes or views
Hmm.
because of something you said last time. Somebody says, "Oh, let's throttle him down a little bit," and you see that in Mastodon and Blue Sky and all of them. No matter what they say,
They all have
although
some
they're more,
algorithm. Yeah.
yes. So you always get that, and I don't like that. And Mastodon is, everybody can have, people can have their own servers, but then that's it. The people who have the servers have the control, not the other.
Yeah.
So they just move the control around, right? So
Hmm.
I also don't like that. So no, I want a place where you are in a park or a big field, you're yelling, whatever you want. Nobody can stop you. And somebody who wants to listen to you, okay, they go and sit next to you. Somebody doesn't want to listen to you, they just walk away. That is what I want.
It's
There
like the
shouldn't be.
is it Hyde Park, the place in England that has that cultural norm where anyone
I,
can bring a soapbox and stand on it?
It's called Speaker's
probably.
Corner. It's
Mm,
called Speaker's Corner, and it's right at the edge of Hyde Park. Correct.
Yeah.
mm.
Interesting.
See,
All right.
that's
That's the
something we
dream.
should emulate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So the trade-off, of course, is this is let's say it's publisher friendly, right? Is a place that anyone can publish and they are not beholden. The trade-off there is uh, it requires more effort on the part of consumers to find the publishers they want because the
Mhm.
platform doesn't. So, but anyway, that's a trade-off. That's fine. The goal is to um, support publishing. So I got that. Um, okay, I think I've got at least a starting point for understanding what you're trying to do and where it's different. And I guess, um, is that fair to say that we're prioritizing publishing over consumption?
Well, are they putting the right, emphasizing the rights of the publisher or the person
Emphasizing,
who
yeah.
wants, yeah. And I guess the consumer falls out of that because, as a consumer, I can consume anything I want. There's nobody that can tell me, oh, you can't follow this guy or this person
Yeah,
because
and maybe it's
you
really
don't have.
publishing it over aggregation. Is that um, the thing that platforms like Facebook and TikTok and whatever else do is anyone can publish, but the aggregator sort of determines, who gets to see what, and
Exactly.
and that has costs and benefits. Um,
And
um,
we even hear Mark Zuckerberg being proud of saying, we invent fake people to drive engagement. And he's quite proud of that. And I'm like, what? You are inventing fake people just to make your platform more
did you
appetizing to
cite your source
advertisers.
on that so I know what you're talking to, or is that just an
Uh,
aside?
it was, yeah, I need to look it up. It's an article that exists out there, and I don't know if he even there's video of him saying those words. Uh, but it's just to okay,
All right, anyway, let's.
yeah, I'm not making up.
Okay,
I'm not making
all
up
right.
any stuff.
Anyway, so uh, so right now you have a system where you can write stuff and you can publish it on IPFS. And I think the way it works now is that each revision is its own sort of unique hash that you just have to find out, right? Or is there some discovery mechanism for keeping track?
Well, the more practical discovery mechanism will be HumaneKind.DAO, but we don't have. I don't know why is it that Safari and Google, Chrome, don't recognize that. Is it?
The .DAO top level domain?
Yeah, they
Yeah,
don't.
I suspect what happened was there was a gold rush and a whole bunch of spammers and scammers created DAO domains, and so the Mazik's impossibility theorem, it's that the they in a awkward trade-off, they just said like these domains are such a high number of spammers that we don't want to trust them by default, so that people don't end up accidentally going to yeah, Citibank.DAO and getting scammed out of all their passwords. So
Okay,
anyway,
and
it's tragic,
yeah.
and there's anyway. So the and is this a matter of the domain name you chose, or the registrar you chose, or possibly some combination of the two?
No, that DAO thing is they just don't recognize it.
Yeah.
And I'm going. What was it? Unstoppable domains, I think is the company
Yeah.
that gave me that. And yeah, that was 2 3 years ago. That was the Bitcoin and all those things. Not
Yeah.
Bitcoin, the myriad of other coins. That was the
Yeah.
thing. And there was actually a couple of
Altcoins, I guess, was
humankind
the yeah.
that there was a couple of enterprises that had humane in their name, like humankind and things,
Yeah.
that they were just, what is it, a coin drop, and people just wanting to increase the value of the coin. I mean, it was a scam city,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's probably, which is unfortunate. So yeah, the discoverability of that is a problem, and one solution is humankind.net. But if you don't have money for the server to run, then that's a problem. So yeah, that's and
Yeah. And this is and this is an interesting hard problem, right? Is that I guess it's really the issue of scarcity, right? Is that um, when you like domain names are useful because not everyone can have the same domain name, right? Is that
mm,
if I go to humankind.net, it doesn't go to Elon Musk, right? Is you want to have a unique name and you want to enforce, but that means it has to be scarce, and it means somebody has it and somebody else doesn't. And there needs to be some way of doing that. And typically that's, DNS is, they've added more diversity, which is good, but then there's this trade-off, right? The ones that are the cheapest and the wildest west ones tend to become disreputable. And the
mhm.
ones that are clear, like .net domains, are more expensive. And this is a challenge if we're trying to get away from capitalist systems that reward those with the most money, is how
Mhm.
do we um, make it findable. Now, have you looked into IPNS, which I
Yes,
guess is
that's
the
where that's exactly how I published this last version of humankind, because I was having trouble with pure IPFS. Like I was using the share link and the
Mhm.
CID, and I couldn't see it from the other laptop that I have here, and I would have trouble locally. And after like an hour, it kind of appeared but I was so exhausted. I was like, I need to take a nap. I just cannot think anymore. And then it appeared, but I didn't know what I did. You know, it's one of those things that you try a whole bunch of things, nothing works. You wait an hour, and then it worked, but you don't know what you don't know what did work. So, but then I saw, oh, I can use Polish to IPNS. The reason I didn't choose IPNS in the beginning is I thought it was going to be complicated. I thought it was going to be like, oh,
Mm,
I have to like, but no, you just, oh, sorry. So, you just using the IPFS desktop app, you
yeah.
choose Polish to IPNS. There's some sort of I don't know if it's a certificate or ID or something, but I use
Hmm.
it and you click self, like I guess that you self certify something, and it
Hmm.
generates that link and I give it to you and you can see it.
Yeah.
So, and that was quite easy. And I was like, oh man, after all these hours, I was just, you know, but anyway, so that's what I use, IPNS.
Okay. And so that's the definitive one. And if we can get that mirrored on a website that people can actually get to, that would be good. But in theory,
Yeah, but it would be
I
like
mean,
that long string. That's the thing. That it is such an ugly long
yeah,
string. That
yeah. All
I think
right.
there's another way of to getting short names in IPNS, but I think it
Hmm.
also involves you paying money. That's what I'm trying to avoid.
Mm,
I want to avoid having people pay money.
right. Especially because that
So
means, especially if paying the money means if you stop paying the money, you lose the rights to it and someone else can take it over,
yes,
right? That's yeah, the alternative, which I know is not uh, great, but it might be better than, might be the least bad option, is something like Ethereum naming service or whatever, where there's a token you can register for that gives you a name that you then have permanent rights to based on your private key.
that's similar to what the DAO is.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
think so. Except
exactly.
yeah, but it's similar, right? And I don't, and we haven't even looked at like Filecoin and the other things built on top of IPNS, have we?
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, and the reason I avoid them is because it involves money.
Filecoin, I thought, is actually crypto rather than money.
Well, okay, maybe crypto is money,
Right, but
but
right, right. The question is that there's two problems with money. One is the cost factor, right? But the other is the thing that I think is more toxic than money is the idea of a subscription, right? Is that you're
mm,
renting a name, you don't own it.
yes,
And the advantage, I don't understand Filecoin or IPNS well enough, but I know that at least in the Ethereum space, there are things where you can actually buy a name and you just own it forever. You don't
mm.
have this ongoing issue. I don't know how well that works and if that solves this problem, but I mean that. So it feels like anyway, we're at a halfway point, and I wanted to give time for Tom to talk about his work, and maybe even discuss what's going on in Ukraine since it's getting weirder and wilder. Um, so
Okay.
it feels like the two things, you've got a system where you can edit and you can publish, which is great, and discoverability is currently a challenge, but there might be some solutions to that.
Mhm.
All right. All right. Thank you, Ernest. Great work. You've done a lot. And you can maybe at the end, you can give us a homework assignment if there's anything you want us to do. But I want to switch gears to Tom, who's been very patient and has been nerding out on ERD and other things in the chat. Um, and I've been hearing a lot about drone production in Ukraine. Is that your friend that you've been working with, Tom?
Um, we, yeah, uh, we're not directly in there yet. It was at the beginning, there was a drone production thing. Right now, we are starting 4 pilots, one of which is semiconductor industry, and going to pilot graph metrics, how it works there on their drawings. And that's just starting up. That's one project in, and that's the main one in Ukraine. We had a hiccup there where our main contact had personal marriage problems for 2 months and
Oh,
nothing happened. So, but
oh,
that's okay. the war will probably end before we get through it. But the peace needs this as much as the war. So,
sorry, just so I understand, is that optimism about the war or pessimism about his marriage?
right.
Uh,
Oh,
you plead the fifth on that one. Okay.
that's yeah. Yeah, no, it was a shame. We got a delay, and
Yeah.
that probably, lost 1,000 lives because of that or something. But
Mm.
that's life. He's actually married to a Ukrainian woman, and he's an American.
Ah,
So just to make things exciting. Anyway,
yes.
I've got some other things floating around. I'm going to mention some things I'm dealing with, and I'll just give you a little catalog, and then if any one of them is particularly interesting, shout, and we'll go deeper now or later. Okay,
Okay.
I'll give you. Okay.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Now, there's one which is kind of vague, but since it is Datocracy related, I want to tell it to you. It's okay. I'm working with the leader of a very small Norwegian party
Right.
who is interested in Datocracy. In fact, that's their major thing. They're gonna do that. And so the election is over, and so now we can turn to maturing their party, which still has no parliamentary representation, but it's new. But it did very well in the election anyway. Polls. Okay.
You got some number of popular votes. It just didn't get any electoral seats.
Yeah, and in fact, in Norway, they get money for it. The more votes you get, the more
Ah,
money the government sponsors their party. So it's not completely wasted. They're feeling rich for the moment. Anyway,
yay.
One thing I was there were some political problems in Norway. They just had the new budget suggested, so political problems crop up. And I began to realize that a lot of these political problems have a root cause that we could deal with politically. So I'll try to make a very long story short, put up there. I've decided that this political party I'm working for has to have a set of policies which really I'll give an example. It's best to give an example of the policies to make that clear, and then below that some principles and laws. There are things happening like hospitals, building hospitals. We got a National Health Service here, right? Building hospitals which run way over the budget, steal money from healthcare and even maintenance of old hospitals. Okay. Now that's and part of the reason is the government lends large sums of money to build the hospital and charges interest in the money, and the interest alone steals the budget. There's a root problem there. These things are not isolated. Healthcare and silly financial things. And the joke is, the government doesn't have to charge interest, and they can solve the problem. But the fact is, they charge interest. So there are structural problems like that. And so I'm looking for, and I'm going to work on this now. So by the time we next meet, I'll probably have a good version of it. But one principle should be that we need to have certain minimum standards of, say, government service of any kind. That could be healthcare, education for children, right? And no bad decisions on the part of politicians of buying expensive hospitals or throwing away money on consultants should ever damage those standards. Those standards are guaranteed by the government, even if the government has to dip into its rich gold pot of all the oil money, even if they have to do that. We can always, say that we've got a pot of gold if we want to use it. We don't want to use it, but but we don't have a policy that says the standards for children are that no matter what, in all parts of the country, in all states, all councils. Part of the problem is councils and states do what they damn well want to, including waste money. And suddenly they cannot serve their students and We have,
Yeah.
teachers having to clean the toilets problem as part of what's
Yeah. So
okay.
let me ask you a question about that. Do you think you can come up with a way to do that that avoids the moral hazard problem, where they just blow the budgets and then all the minimums get paid for out of the sovereign wealth fund?
I don't know. I think I have to get further down the road. What I'm looking at is we clearly don't have principles like that from any party or any law. Okay.
Mm,
So in other words, things can get out of control. What have we got? We've got politicians who are not very professional at making decisions like, should we build this ship's tunnel through the
mhm.
mountain? They just canceled that project. It would be the only one in the world where you could run a ship through a mountain. Okay. And it was getting out of control. For 20 years, they spent money on designing this ship's tunnel, which they
Right.
finally decided never to build. In other words, this way, politicians are extremely bad at making a lot of decisions. They screw up
Yes.
all the time. I'm sure this is true in all countries. One
Yeah.
reason is, I mean, even
To
professional
be fair,
managers
most I
are
think
very
you
bad.
would. I think I would have thought you would have. Most people make really bad decisions most of the time if they're not
Yeah,
using language.
something. Yeah, fair enough. But I mean, the thing about politicians is they're not trained to do it. They're not trained in decision making. They're trained in
Mhm.
making a good speech to fool people and getting elected.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, even when it goes very, very wrong, they're not responsible. Nobody puts them in prison for, the hospital costs 10 times as much as it should be.
Yeah.
Nobody. Okay. So you have a structural
They
problem
don't even have
there
a
of
stock price or a board to punish them for making bad financial
no,
decisions.
nothing,
Yeah.
nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, I want to sort this problem. I want to start, but it starts with the idea that um, we need to guarantee certain standards and define them, numerically, exactly how much attention from teachers shall children get if they're handicapped. Okay. Exactly how clean shall a hospital be? What is the length of a queue to get an operation for your heart? All this kind of stuff the government does, and you need to set the standards and make every reasonable effort to guarantee them. Now, a lot of them are simply rooted in money, okay, and the government's sitting on this pot of gold. So we, unlike a lot of other nations, we can solve the problem saying at the extreme we dip into our oil money because there's plenty of that. Uh, I don't know if that's the right solution, but I can see it's a possible solution that we have that others don't. You know, uh, okay. I mean, it's exactly what's going on in the U.S. with the government shutdown and the healthcare going up, and should we blame the Democrats or the Republicans for this one? I mean, it's crazy in the U.S. and it's not sane in even Norway, which is a pretty sane country. Anyway, so that's one project I've just
Yeah.
started, but it's related to the fact that I've got a political party who's really looking for good things like that, and we'll tie it into
Mhm.
Datocracy, where these items will be voted on by people. But we need to give them something to vote on. And I'll bet citizens would love the idea that their medical and educational services would be absolutely guaranteed no matter how much politicians screwed up their other decisions. I'd
Yeah.
vote for that, wouldn't you?
Oh, I can think of
Oh,
all sorts of failure modes of that, but we can have that discussion next time.
right, sure, yeah, right. That's good. Okay, now I'm gonna run through a few other things I'm messing with. Um, I've been introduced to the head of a Montessori school in Vermont. His name is Todd Covert. Right,
Hmm.
he founded, runs, and owns the school there with his wife. And long story short, he is currently spending a lot of time this week and last week doing his personal life planning using my life design, for his
Oh,
family and personal life. And simultaneously, he's using my strategy ring strategy book for planning the school. In other words,
wow.
very detailed about stakeholders and values and strategies and impact estimation tables. And he's
Wow.
loving it. He's loving it. Now, here's the thing. I mean, that's nice, but here's the real cool thing. He and his friends, I will simplify by not going into the whole story of who the friends are, but they're interesting people too, have decided that language has such a lot of cool ideas in it for helping people think and reason that it ought to be taught to school children all over the world. There's an idea. Just imagine my language, all school children in the world. Now, of course, we're going to start one school at a time, like the first Montessori school. And if that's a success, probably all the other Montessori and Steiner schools in Europe. And then if it's a success, we'll spread it. Okay. So that's now. By the way, we've already done the first evolutionary steps, which is Todd, who by the way is an Ironman participant in Berlin recently. Interesting guy,
triathlon, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's what he does on the side. But he runs the Montessori school, and there's a few other interesting aspects about Todd. And he where are they going? I forget where it's going, but okay, let me list some other things very quickly to get through. Now, this same gang has a strong relationship with several universities. And one of the universities is called Long Island University. I don't know if you know anything about it, but it is absolutely anti-establishment. In other words, anti-Harvard and Yale. It's a working man's university, right? It's designed to give people who had a bad economic start in life a really good education to make them better, which is, I like the ideal there, not daddy's millions get you in, but, we're taking you in because you seem like a smart person worth investing. That's Long Island University. Now, my friends know the dean. I believe his name is Dan of this Long Island University. I haven't met him yet. I'm just about to meet him. Dan, there's several things going on there, but one was that Dan said, my board of directors needs sorting out. They're a bit messy. Okay, that's probably true of a lot of boards of directors in a million places. Okay, now, what does that mean? Now, and they brought me on board because I had made a remark in one of my recent books that boards of directors should not say yes or no to $60 million propositions, which might pay off in 7 years. They ought to say, we'll give you deliver 1 week of real value, we'll give you some money. You do it the next week, we'll give you some more money. In other words, the allocation of money shouldn't be big bang waterfall. It should be evolutionary. Long story short.
With what is it, gates or whatever the term is for that unlock different tranches of funding. Milestones.
Exactly. Good. Now, anyway, so I made that remark. And so my friend says, look, we're trying to sort out this board of directors. And you had a policy like that. And you got some more shit like that. Well, I didn't, but I've developed it and I've published it. I can send it to you guys after the meeting to save time. But it's called Board for Board of Directors, Board QA. Okay, and I'm going to send it to you. As with everything else, I've probably already publicized it on LinkedIn, X, and Substack. But
yes, I know. I saw you on Substack.
Right, I just got in there now. But what is Board? Well, Board is my draft. It has 10 or so policies for boards, like the one I mentioned. It has 10 or so principles for boards and 10 rules for the quality of any information going in and out of the board, and a process based on IBM's entry, task, exit things, which I've written about, which says that before it comes into the board, it's got to be clean. And if it ain't, you reject it, so you don't waste the board's time. And before it gets out of the board, whatever it is, it's got to be clean. It can't have 100, neither in nor out can have 100 ambiguous words in a page. Okay. And this is as simple as feeding a document into an AI and saying how many ambiguous words there are. That's okay. Okay, so I've written all this, and I believe that my friends have already suggested what I've done and talked about moving it to the board at Long Island University. Okay, so we'll probably get a trial, and there are other boards, including the Montessori board, which Todd said today. Yep, that's a place it can go. So I've got a thing for anybody's board of directors to radically improve the quality of the decision making. That's called board. Okay. Now, number two, as you know, a lot of university educations are collapsing, especially in computer science and management, because people have discovered that these people are not trained to do good and produce results. They fail. So the new graduates can't get a job. Nobody wants to hire them, and the old graduates can't get a job either. It's a really bad situation in many countries internationally. Okay. And I saw this coming a long time ago when I saw the kind of things that MBA programs were teaching in computer science, but nobody would listen because people were hiring those people based on the certificate. Okay. The MBA, the computer science. Now, this University of Long Island, they're fronting another thing. Instead of giving a degree, they're going to put on a private pod, like your personal pod. When you're trained at the university, you don't get a lot of facts lectured at you and you feed it back on an exam. What you're going to do is very Montessori-like. You will do practical projects, like design a product ready for market.
You create a portfolio.
Yeah, exactly. But the point is, it will document your portfolio of things you have done. You have done, or you've got the details, not a general exam in balanced scorecard or something like that. And this will be your permanent record. It effectively is your CV when you ask for employment. Okay. And it's a permanent, indestructible, trustable record, like you could have on my son's website or something like it, with solid security procedures. So they're fronting that they're not going to give a normal degree. They're going to do this practical, result-oriented, tailored certification series for maybe lifetime. I mean, long after you've gone, you take further education, you do other things, and it adds to your CV. It's a whole different way of thinking about it. So I think that's interesting. Then there's another thing. One point, one of my friends, he said, I'm always looking for funds to fund, my different things. And I mumbled something about Ray Dalio. You know who Ray Dalio is, right?
The Start Capital, or
exactly. And Principles book, right? And I'm a Principles book man. And his China analysis, he's gone very deep into China and world history and very interesting things. Anyway, so I mentioned that Ray Dalio about 10 days ago announced that he was building a personal avatar. It wasn't ready yet, but it would allow you to talk to Ray Dalio about everything he knew. He wanted to pass on his knowledge before he died.
Digital twin. Okay.
Exactly. Now, I don't know if you know, but my son and friends are making an avatar for me with all my knowledge right now.
Oh, wow.
Oh, you didn't know that? Okay. Yeah, they're doing it. They're doing it. We've talked about it for a long time.
And this is where you say, and in fact, that's the one that's been talking to you the entire time, right?
Good. Now, my avatar has all of my works digitally in the Graphmetrics database right now. And what we're actually missing is the front end, which will be designed and built and be the artificial intelligence front end to me. So but that has to be done. So that may take a few months at best. Okay?
All right.
But anyway, I
can't wait to start trolling your digital twin and see how well it works.
You will be talking to my digital twin. Anyway, so now it turns out Ray Dalio and I are the only ones we know of doing this. There probably are other people, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think that Reid Hoffman has he's got his own like 3D one that he uses to give talks.
Okay.
And he actually does podcasts with it.
Actually, I talked to one of my friends today. He's in Nevada, and he said, Tom, I will use AI agent systems and make at least a damn good prototype of this right now, quickly. And I will join Kai's design team to design your avatar for this. So that in other words, somebody's going to whip up an avatar of me instantly. Okay, so but it turns out that Ray Dalio is a graduate of Long Island University Business School, and
Oh,
he's extremely active in the business school, both helping it get better and financing it. Now he's got a fortune of order of magnitude $130 billion, by the way.
yeah.
He's one of the richest men on the planet, so that's nice. So by the way, I think I'm just about to bump into Ray Dalio. How can we now avoid the collision at
Yeah.
the Long Island
Or at least
University?
your
But
digital twins will meet each other.
you got it. Okay. Let's see. Other things going on. I've written a new paper called Multi, which is all about how we must think in terms of multiple stakeholders, multiple values, multiple strategies, and not try to oversimplify to one or a few. That's it's endemic in my whole language, but much of the world's methods are not very pluralistic, and therefore they lack the richness needed to actually manage things. So there's a paper called Multi. I'll send that to you, guaranteed, both of you. And there's another paper I've written recently called Quality 5.0. This, I don't know how interested you are in
I think,
quality, but it's
didn't you
been
discuss it before? I feel like this came up.
possibly,
Yeah.
it could be a month old. Okay. But
Yeah.
basically I attack the American Society for Quality's official definitions of quality, which are atrociously bad, as I prove in detail in the paper, and there are better options. And there are probably other things, but given our timing, so I'm messing about with those things. Other things you will see in the things I'm going to send you, so you can scan through and say, "Oh, I didn't know about that yet." Anyway,
Yeah.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
having
So
a
the
lot
really
of
interesting
fun.
thing I would love to have is if you could bring a guest on, like I think you mentioned Todd and Dan and your friends from Norway.
Possibly.
That would be even
Okay.
even if you get them to
Poss
record a little video clip or a digital avatar to send in just to get some different
Okay.
perspectives on
Well,
what's happening.
yeah. Okay. Well, I'll keep that in mind. We just have to have the right somebody. There are people there who would probably say yes and do it, but then they
Yeah.
find the right subject for us. So anyway,
Yeah.
that's what I'm having fun with.
All
So
right.
I'll send you those things, and you can ignore them if you're too busy, or you can scan and say that interests me, or
Yeah, no,
whatever.
I mean, definitely if you end up coming up with a pitch for how to do minimum, standards of social care, in a
Right.
robust way, that would be fascinating to see, because I can
Yeah,
imagine many
that's
ways it can
clearly
go wrong, but
that's up
I
our
can
street.
believe you
That's
could find a way for it to go right. So
right. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the nearest thing to our Datocracy ideas.
yeah.
Better government, and I started work on that yesterday, so it's that fresh.
Okay.
Or to be even more exact, I started work today at 1 or 2 in the morning, my time. So
Interesting.
but I've got the draft of it. I know where I'm going. I know I can do it. So it'll be
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. All right. Ernest, any next steps on HumaneWeb that you would like us to take a look at or to look forward to?
Actually, yes, and I'm glad you asked because there's one way. Is if you go to the Humane Web, uh, remember that document that I mentioned, 10 TEN life code? There is one of those documents, the last section essentially says, yeah, this is the homework. To
So
just take
let's see if we can find it real here. Make sure there's two sort of documents here.
let's do the last one, the life code journey. Homework. See, there's a link.
I mean, this is the homework we did before, right?
Well, that's the uh yeah,
And
the
you're under
before, but
Nerd
then
S rather than Humane Nerd,
yeah, that's
right?
got yeah, that's a typo. But oh no,
You
that's
can't
before.
keep
But
changing
anyway,
your name on us, Ernest.
yeah, I know, but it keeps coming natural because of what I'm doing. But if you go to the bottom
We
of
need
the
an
document,
IPNS unique identifier. We can keep track of your different names and dereference them as you go through the different iterations.
Yeah, and I was even thinking, okay, what happens after I die? You know, what happens to my name? And I'm like, well, we have to have some sort of system, you know, where for 100 years nobody can use it, but after that somebody can. Anyway, but yeah, the last section,
Last section here.
there
Oh,
you go, homework.
the other thing is that what is the current best way to edit a pod? It feels like we've been thrashing between GitLab and
Right now, the only way is to either you use what was the VS Code, or I
I mean, where do we
use
store it? Do I have to commit it into your GitLab repo
Oh yeah, right now, you know,
or just
yeah,
email you?
GitLab. Yeah, we can do the GitLab, and you do it in the dev train,
All
and
right.
yeah, just
Anyway, I
submit.
gotta
You can
maybe
work.
we'll have to leave that as a action for next time. I gotta jump off for my next meeting.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. I'll see you in November.
Yes.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.